Greetings. Remember to breathe. Mindfulness teaches us that we are not our thoughts, and that although, part of me may be hurting or angry or happy or sad, it's not all of me. And so as we don't identify as our emotions, it's easier to not let them take over. Don't get lost in suffering or happiness or any of these things. We really just need to remember that we're not our thoughts, we're not our emotions, and we have control over them because of that, as long as we are aware of that and know that. So just a quick little thought I had. Today's video, I decided I'm going to take a little bit of a stance on something openly and I guess publicly, in a sense, for those of you watching. And this may rub you the wrong way, and I'm okay with that. I am someone who's spent a lot of time in nature and really learned a lot of what I've learned based on, the way I see the world and perspective. And I spent a lot of time thinking about what it would be like if we didn't have government, if we didn't have society and all this, and we just lived in the woods. Like, we would need each other to survive. We would need men and women. If there was no science, no labs, we would need men and women to continue to have babies and procreate, and women would tend to be more in their role of nurturer, basket weaver, caretaker, and men would be more in the role of hunting. And of course, that's generally, it wasn't always the case, just that would be, men tend to be able to handle the heat and the temperature shifts based on their own physiology easier than a woman. And this is not an offensive thing. This is literally just basic anatomy and physiology facts. You can look up all this stuff. So, when you really break down this life in the simplest way through nature and facts of, our own biochemical makeup and how hormones change and how they work with women and with men, it's like very clear what our roles are for me. And so, I think about, sometimes I have these conversations with people, and sometimes we can get confused, or I can get confused about, I honestly have come to the conclusion that, let's say, sovereignty, freedom, etc. is a myth. Like, God's the only one that's free, that continues to exist with or without us, and we need each other to support each other to, if I run a business, I need customers, I need to rely on you to not drive drunk, I need to rely on security to handle things at events. And so we're all kind of interconnected here one way or the other. And so the fact is like, in that sense, freedom is a myth. And so how can I live how I want to live while not affecting you or offending you, and vice versa? And I really got into this cool conversation with a friend recently about, I want to see the drug war end. And he's like, well, think about when they ended the drug war in Oregon and Washington, and they just let people do drugs. And now, you can't take your kid to the playground because there's a bunch of junkies hanging around doing heroin, nodding out all over the place. And I'm like, that's a good, interesting point. And because they legalized it, they don't have the same fear to hide it. And, so they're not worried about going to jail. And so they're not like keeping it private. And I said, well, that's where the crime was committed, is they're not keeping it to themselves, and they're breaching the peace, they're affecting the community in that way, and it's making it unsafe for people in general. So, that's where the crime is committed, and that part's not, isn't allowed. You want to do what you want to do in your own home and privacy, whatever, fine, I'm with it. However, if you start bringing it out into public and making, I actually was a huge advocate for cannabis decriminalization, not legalization. I'm not for government having their hands in everything, if almost nothing, ideally, other than protecting our country and our people. That's, like, to me, the main purpose of the government, some uniformity in that, so we can defend against foreign powers and stuff, right? So I do think we need some amount of that. However, I agree with the beginning where it was supposed to be limited powers. Very libertarian, I guess, in that way. And, help your neighbor, be what we would call Christian, and just a good person. If you see somebody suffering, help them out. Teach them to fish. Obviously, don't hand it to them. That's not going to help them or you. So, I'm not one for much charity either, per se. Of course, I'll be there for people, lend an ear. That's about the extent of it, and do my best to teach others as much as I can on how to do their thing here. So, it came down to this, is like, well, how about the people who are trying to force people to call them by pronouns? Like, if I look at you and you look like a girl and I say she, and you get offended, like, it's this culture, it's programming, and then you get mad and it's, you need to call me this. Like, well, then you're messing with my freedom. So what about my choice, my freedom to choose to not acknowledge that or not worry about that? So it's like, what it came down to for me to define it was, one side is like trying to force you to be a certain way, and another side isn't necessarily. And that's where that's like the closest we can get to freedom, is respecting one another. Like, if you want to identify as they, them, that's fine, but you can't force me to do that. And if, a lot of these people, those same people, also believe in like my body, my choice, right? So how can you say my body, my choice, therefore my mind, my choice, and then tell me I can't refer to you as a woman when you have XX chromosomes, when you were born with a vagina? They, them maybe is somebody who's a hermaphrodite, and I know that happens, I guess, sometimes, some deformities and things. That is not the norm by any means, and generally they still lean one way or the other, male or female. And I don't know how the chromosome thing works in that case. It's not something I've studied. It's just in nature there's polarity. In this place there's polarity. And so to me it's a mental illness when you are identifying as a cat or a dragon and then think I'm just supposed to know that by looking at you. Or like we used to play imagination games and I was a Ninja Turtle, but I didn't think I was a Ninja Turtle. It was just a game I was playing. So we've gone too far, period. We need to get it together. And this whole my body, my choice, like, okay, well, how come that stops when you think I need to get a mandatory vaccine or shot or medical treatment your way, that you say is the way, where the government says, and because you're, somebody who, wants to always have your way, you keep giving the government more power to give your way, but then meanwhile, you're eventually going to lose your way too, right? The story, like, they kept coming for all my neighbors and, I wasn't there to help, and then they finally came for me and there was nobody left, and I think a lot of people don't get that, especially, let's say, left-leaning people with blue hair and all this craziness. And again, I really do my best to not be someone, live and let live your journey, live your way. Like, if you believe in abortion, which I don't myself, and I'm literally somebody who, it's just, for me, I wouldn't want to have an abortion. Like, my wife, like if I got to grow pregnant, it's just not me. It's not what I'd want. I would do my best to absolutely stand up and be there and, do my best not to get somebody pregnant who, would want that. However, I get that we live in a time where things happen and people don't take responsibility and accountability, and sometimes kids are better off, maybe better off not being born than ending up in CPS and that whole crazy system of foster care, and or being with a drug addict mom and dad, or people who just don't care about them, like in my case. But I don't feel that way. I'm glad I wasn't aborted. I'm super stoked that I'm alive, and even with all the crazy things I've been through because of being born to a 16-year-old mother that didn't want me but still had me, and then spent the rest of my childhood making sure that I knew I wasn't wanted, and was just lucky to like have been born or whatever. And there's truth in there. But like, I wouldn't know my son, I wouldn't be a dad, I wouldn't be able to be here for you making this video and experience thirst and quenching it, and the rain, and which is one of my favorite things. As those close to me know, I love rainy days for some reason. And so I think where we've gone too far from what I can tell, and the reason that the issue I have with these others that are like telling me they, them, and my body, my choice, and all this, is like they want everybody to be like them, and the other side seems to more be like, live and let live. You want to be they, them, that's fine, just don't expect me to deal with that. Or you want to be a cat, just don't expect me to accept that. Like, that's your journey, your life. You want to shit in a you want to poop in a litter box. All right, like, but don't think I'm going to be okay with you doing that at my house. Obviously, I wouldn't have somebody like that at my house. I also feel like you should be able to do what you want in your private space, including drugs, alcohol, whatever. Like, I don't see why we have all this, rules and regulations going on. I'm not even somebody for driver's licenses or DUI stops and things, but I also don't want you riding around after being blackout drunk and killing somebody either. It's, whether I know them or not, or whether I even like their way they're living. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I don't hate anybody. And that's one of the things I really don't see from the other side, we'll say, the left side, whatever, if we're going to call that stupid divide. Like, I watch these videos of guys on the corner preaching about Jesus, and I'm not one of those guys per se. I think it's awesome, and I think it's, you know, something I admire, and I'm certainly not against that, but I can see where it would, like, you know, bother certain people. However, even when those people get bothered and they start attacking and throwing things at this man or woman, usually a man, they somehow stay in love. Like, they're not coming in a hateful way or even a judgmental way. They're like, dude, Jesus loves you. Like, come check it out. Come at least be open to it. You know, let's see, maybe it'll help you. Maybe it'll change your life. And those who have been open to that, it's changed their life. I've seen a story recently of a trans person that came back and went untransitioned and became a boy again, and like all through the power of Christ. You know, I think that's amazing and powerful, and that shows to me the power of love. And it healed this person's mind and heart, and this being is a new being, you know, and back to nature and how God made that being. So I think that's really special, and shows a really great example of love. And I don't find these people sitting on the corner preaching about Jesus hateful. You know, they still stay calm. They don't retaliate. I'm not saying that's always the case, just the videos I've watched. I'm always impressed by how much they're attacked, and these demons like come out and like rah and scream at them, and they're just like, dude, I'm just sharing this book with you. You don't have to even stand here and listen to it. And, you know, I just, to me, freedom, you know, the reason why one side vibes with me more than the other is it seems like one side thinks that I need to do whatever they want, which isn't freedom. And the other side seems like you can do whatever you want as long as you're not telling me what to do. And that to me is at least the closest we're ever going to get to freedom. And me just like being myself and out there like waving a flag, which I don't, I'm just, if that was the case, like if you're sitting there screaming at me, yeah, that's your freedom. And and that's the funny thing is, like, a lot of times that side waving the flag isn't screaming back. And I watch this over and over in real life and in these videos, and you know, it's like, why are you so angry? Why, you know, how can you believe in my body, my choice, while simultaneously telling me what to do? So the double standards, the hypocrisy. I mean, obviously a lot of people are sick of it. I'm grateful that, you know, I'm not somebody who's into politics or any of that, but I am grateful that even though I know it's all a show, that there is somebody in there saying there's two genders and that's how God made it, and it's just what it is, and we're not allowing men to compete in female sports, and all these arguments about, you know, anything men can do, women can do. Really, then why is it that these transgender female men, whatever, I don't know how to even acknowledge any of this. And I can't believe I'm even making a video about this, because it's something I do my best to just like, what? I can't believe this is happening. However, it is, so I'm acknowledging it and I'm taking a stance. And how come they're breaking every record in female sports? Well, then obviously men are physically stronger, generally speaking. Does that mean that I can beat up every woman and that there's no women that can't beat me up? No. It's just generally, 99 out of 100 women are going to lose a fight against most men. Okay, so, you know, it's just the way it is. We have different hormones, different physical makeups, different abilities. And I think that if we can just really live more in acceptance of that, and really get back to a space and a time, or forward to a space and a time where we get back to like loving one another in that, and accepting and acknowledging that, and people accepting themselves for who they are, and all, like, man, we can get back to another golden age, and it would be cool to see. So, you know, if you're on one side or the other, just we can all do better, I think, to be more loving, more tolerant, more compassionate, more accepting. And those of you who really are not like that, maybe you ought to look in the mirror and say like, wow, I want acceptance from these people, but I'm not accepting them or their way of life. So that's kind of hypocritical, and that's a double standard. And, you know, that's the clearest, concisest, most concise way I can explain why I think one side is truly about freedom and one side isn't. Because I'm like, I struggled with that conversation. Like, well, how do we give them their freedom while simultaneously, you know, it's like, well, okay, you're free to think you're a cat, but also you can't force it on me to call you that. And that's it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And that's freedom. Okay, the closest we'll get, you know, as men and women and living souls and you know, offsprings of the one God. So Anyways, that's my 2 cents, my 2 shekels, whatever, as my brother Marty likes to say, from the Gnostic Church and Academy of Lord Jesus Christ. Check them out. If you want to have a call, a private call, anything you want to talk about, anything you're dealing with, anything, you want to learn more about mindfulness, you want to learn about some of the products that I might have that might help you in your life, in your journey, on your journey, thelivingmysterychurch.org, thelivingmysterychurch.org. I love you. I wish you all the peace and love and joy in the world. And, I know things can seem dark here and there, but again, remember, there's always another way to see. There's always other, spaces to look at. So if you're looking at the world and it seems dark, that's because you're also, choosing to ignore the parts that are light. I mean, it's that simple. They're always there. It's just what we're focused on. So widen your gaze, friends, widen your gaze, and you will see the pleasure and not just the pain. If you're having a pain in your body, there's parts in your body that aren't in pain. Realize all of it, not just some of it. Go right into it. So livingmysterychurch.org. If we can get my subscriptions up to 50, I can start doing live videos and posting some more and stuff like that. And I'm at like 38 right now, so that'd be cool to get those up. And if you guys can remember to like the videos, that would be really appreciated. So thank you so much for all the support I've gotten so far and the feedback, for better or worse. And I'm going to keep on sharing my perspectives, and it vibes with some people, of course, and doesn't with others. So thank you very much for your time. I love you. Have a great day.